this is Danielle at Bubbly Ducky or bubblyducky.com. I am trying this live soap making thing again. Today I am going to be trying to make, or I will be making, Goosfraba. So that is my lavender and eucalyptus essential oil soap. It's been pretty popular and it's sold out. So I'm going to make some more. It will be ready in 6 weeks. So I'm going to try really hard to speak louder than last time. However, as I might have explained before, my daughter is asleep in this same house, not too terribly far away because it's not terribly big of a house. So every time I start to get a little loud, I start to think, oh, I don't want to wake her up, and then I get quiet again, so I may or may not start mumbling. I might just shut up and do this in silence for a while. So in here I have my oils. There is olive oil, castor oil, coconut oil, and palm oil. This is a pretty simple soap. I don't make it all that complicated. Right here I have titanium dioxide. That is for making it lighter. This soap, I like to have kind of a pastel color in it, and there's some parts that are just outright white. So I'm putting a bit of that in here, mixing it in real good. The reason I put it in with the oils directly, first off, because I want this all throughout the soap. I don't just want it in part of it. Second, because titanium dioxide really needs to be diluted. It's not the word I'm looking for, dispersed, excuse me. Otherwise it gets kind of chunky and you wind up with weird little spots in your soap, which it's not the end of the world. It doesn't hurt anything, but it's not as pretty as I want it to be. I like pretty, at least when it comes to my soap. I don't put as much effort into other things, which is why I am not on camera. Well, that and this just is a lot more convenient. Let's see here. I'm going to get that mixed in real good. I'm going to get those bubbles out because I want the soap to be nice and smooth. I don't want little air bubbles all over the place. Again, another thing that won't hurt anything but doesn't look great. Warning right now, throughout this process, there is blending, there is banging. Both of those things are needed. They're not necessarily the greatest thing on camera, but what you're going to do, they got to get done. Alright, I think I want a little more titanium dioxide. Alrighty. That's going to be good because I'm not looking for it to necessarily be a stark white, just kind of pastel. Alright. Now over here I have my lye solution. Today I am using a basic lye solution with just water and lye, a little salt in there to make the to make the soap harder, which makes it last longer. And a new thing, which I've never done before, silk. I'm using real natural silk fibers. I don't know if you say it tusa or tussa, but mine might not be either one of those things, but it's real silk. It feels fabulous on your hands. It's dissolved real good in here. I am told that it will make the soap silky itself. Not silky, but much softer, smoother. And I wanted to give it a try, so we'll see how this goes. Pour that down the shaft of the blender to keep away those dreadful air bubbles. Oh, got some air bubbles. That's okay. I'll just bang those out in a minute here. And And for anybody who's wondering, no, there is no way to make soap without lye. Lye is a chemical, though technically speaking, so is water. So that word has to come with a grain of salt. It is a caustic chemical. It's an alkaline chemical, but it is what is used to make soap. And when the soap is fully cured, which mine cure for 6 weeks, when it's fully saponified, which only takes about 3 days of that curing process. The first 3 days it's going through saponification. After that, the lye itself is gone. And technically, most of the oils are too. I use some extra oils so that there's something there to moisturize your skin. But much of the oil, in fact, in this recipe, I want to say it's about 93%, if memory serves me correct. Those are not going to be there anymore. They're going to be changed into soap. It's a full transformation. No lye is left. Most oil is not left. All right. And I am just blending this up until it's emulsified, just enough so where the water that I just poured in and the oils that were already in there are not going to separate. They're going to fully become soap and not stick to being their own separate things. And let me just say, if you are looking for an emulsion blender, I love this thing. It was not very expensive. It's from Nuvoware, which maybe Nuvoware, Nuo, so I'm not really sure if that's pronounced that way, but yeah, it's wonderful. Love it. We have a separate one in the kitchen for smoothies, and I didn't get the same brand, and I regret that. Really regret that, because it's so wonderful. Alright, that should be good. Sorry, I just kicked the camera. I'm sure that was pleasant. Alright, so this is going to be 3 layers. It's going to be 3 layers. I'm going to have 1 layer that is green, 1 layer that is a swirl of purple, white, and green, and 1 layer, most of it, in fact, that is just purple. And I'm debating putting some lines between those layers. I don't think I'm going to. That might change my mind if I get antsy. Alright, so let me pour off my accent colors here. Let's see. And I'm just going to make a big old mess in the process because I'm really, really good at that. Oh yeah. That is why I use these chintzy plastic tablecloths. They wipe down so easy. And they're brightly colored, which makes me happy. I like bright colors. And Viva paper towels. I cannot recommend them enough. I try to use as little as possible because they're pricey and I don't want to be wasteful, but ooh, they are nice. Okay, so first layer is going to be Kermit green, because of course it is. Who can not use Kermit green? This is going to be a little different than the first time I made Goosfraba. So the first time I used a lot of liquid dyes, which I still use them for some things. They're really good for some things, but I'm trying to move away from them for the most part. Micas are significantly further down that natural scale. Um, Technically, they're created in a lab, but they're made to be exactly like the natural. So they're grown as if they... Oh, let me try to explain this as if I actually know science. Well, actually, I'm doing science, but they are lab created, kind of like lab created gems. You know, so if you go to most jewelers, the gem you're getting is actually created in a lab. It's not mined somewhere. Same principle with this, but the reason for that is because in the natural, just if you found a mica in the wild, it's going to have hard metals in it, which you obviously do not want on your skin. Nobody wants to be bathing in lead. That's bad, right? This is not going to have any of that, so it's completely safe. And the dyes are safe too, but some people are less comfortable with them. And the micas are also a little nicer to work with, honestly. They stink to clean up, but outside of that small fact, they really just turn some beautiful colors. They don't bleed into each other so much. They don't make things runny, which is great. So the first time I made Goosfraba, there was lots of dye in it. Actually, I had a really hard time getting the purple, so I used an abundance of different dyes. Whereas this one is just going to have 2 micas and the titanium dioxide, which, like I said, technically about as close to natural as you can get, other than using vegetable-based colorants. And vegetable-based colorants can be okay, but they definitely don't give any pop. So, like if you look at my Ancient Sands, that's a vegetable-based colorant. That's as much of that as I'm going to give it. The Ancient Sands uses rose clay and turmeric, and there's color there, but they're not vibrant by any means. They're very muted. You can get some okay colors with vegetable-based, or clay-based, but it's very limited. Yeah, definitely can't get Kermit green, that's for sure. Or a Queen purple, which is what I'm going to be using for the purple here. Alright, and I'm actually going to, let's see, I'm going to do an in the pot swirl for this. So part of this is going to go, part of this green is going to go into my white over here. Let me see, is that enough? A little more. Okay. Part of my green goes into my white. And the rest goes into the molds here. Which I will get as even as I can by eyeballing it, but this is an art at this point, not a science. The mixing, the measuring, those are science. When you get down to putting the pretty colors all together, that's an art, and they're just not always going to be exactly the same, and that's okay. At least in my book it is. And I'm going to scrape this out very well. Because I don't want to waste all these wonderful oils in here. I wouldn't want them to just wind up in my sink. All right, let's set this back. Oh no, okay. You know what's really important about soap? How it smells, which is something I neglected to put in. But thankfully, that's a really small layer. This is the big parts. This will be just fine. All right. So this is lavender and eucalyptus essential oils. I use 3 parts lavender to 2 parts eucalyptus. And I think it smells pretty dandy. I really enjoy it. My husband loves it. He tells me that it helps him relax. So he'll use this soap before bed. Technically speaking, I cannot tell you this is going to help you relax because that is regulated by the FDA. So I cannot tell you this is going to help you relax. It is an essential oil. It is not a drug, but it smells really good. And let's just be honest here. Most good smells help us relax a little bit, right? Just kind of make our space nice. All right. The one thing about using titanium dioxide all the way through it, well, 2 things. First, it's kind of hard to see when everything's good and mixed up when I'm putting the lye in, so I tend to mix it just a little more. Second, titanium dioxide, just kind of as a rule, makes the soap set up quicker, so it is getting real thick now. That's okay because we're making these nice layers that the thicker the soap is when it pours in, the quicker those layers set up. And in the long run, that actually makes things a little easier. All right, now for that beautiful Queen's Purple. Ooh, how regal. This has become my favorite mica. You will see that if you look at the recent soaps I've made, I've used this in quite a few. Well, if you look at bubblyducky.com, you can tell I have a penchant for purple. But then this particular purple is just gorgeous. It's all shimmery and beautiful. Oh, yeah. So I do not have fancy camera equipment. I have a telephone. Oh, I'm showing a little age here. I have a cellular device, which has a funky camera on it because they all do, don't they? And that is what I'm using right now for you all to be watching this live. What that means is the audio is probably awful, and my mouth is really close to the phone while it's on the mount. So I am afraid that either you can't hear me at all or I'm yelling at you. So if either one of those things are true, I apologize. If you watch me on mute, I get it. I'm not offended. I would watch me on mute too. If you watch me at all, I'm pretty happy actually. Muted or not. I'm going to add more because that looks kind of gray. And I want this purple. Oh, I'm going to buy more of this stuff soon. I'm going through it. So pretty. Okay. We shall see. Now let's get a much more vibrant. Oh yeah. It's a little muted because the titanium dioxide, like I said, it will make it a bit more pastel. Oh yeah, that's good. And a lot of the color develops as it cures. So sometimes I'll put the soap in the mold and think, well, that did not quite get the color I thought it would and the color I wanted, only to look at it a couple days later when I'm taking it out of the mold and cutting it and think, wow, that is pretty. So soap has a lot to do with patience and not having very specific expectations, because it does its own thing, kind of. Let's see here. About to make a mess again. Oh yeah, that got tough. Okay. Well, we'll see how this works. Let's see, I need a chopstick. Chopstick. So I want the swirl to go all the way through, and that's going to be quite hard because currently the purple is sitting right on top. So I'm going to see if I can maybe open up a hole here. It's softer. Mix it up a bit to make it softer. Oh yeah, I'm gonna have to work fast on this one. So what that means though is while I can't do the swirl quite the same way I was originally intending, what I can do is when I'm pouring this in, it's going to have very distinct colors. So it won't be, like you'll very clearly see the green, the purple, and the white, which is something that didn't really happen the first time I did this. So I wanted it a little thicker. This is a bit thicker than I was going for, but I'm pretty sure it's still going to be absolutely gorgeous. In fact, I'm absolutely sure it's going to be absolutely gorgeous, but I'll be able to prove that in a few days when we cut it. That is the exciting part. Alright. Now, to put it on top of this layer without busting up this layer, that is hard. Of course, this does not get hard nearly as fast as this does. So, I'm not going for a flat layer. I am going for some texture here. Yeah, the titanium dioxide definitely thickened up, so this will be a interesting one to cut. Say that when I'm making soap, 50 to 70% of them go as planned. The rest are, what is it, happy accidents, which works just fine for me. Because it makes it exciting to cut. Alright, now actually, let's see if I can. Oh, look at those swirls. Yeah, buddy. Okay. And to keep these layers more distinct, what I really should have done is let that bottom layer sit up for a while before putting on the next layer. And I was trying to find a way to do that differently because of being on live. Not wanting to make this a 3-hour video for you guys, but that would have made these layers set up a whole lot differently than they are. But I think it's still going to be really pretty. Oh yeah. Actually, right now I'm loving, oh, I wish I could just leave that on top. That is so pretty. If my hands weren't If my gloves didn't have soap all over them, I'd pull the camera in closer, the phone in closer, so that you could see. That is just pretty. Let me see if I can. Can you guys maybe see that? I don't know if that's working real well, but oh yeah, there you go. Isn't that a pretty little swirl? It's a little bloopy, but I like it. Oh yeah, that whole bottom layer. We're going from 2 layers to 1, but that's okay because it's pretty. Sorry, should have given a warning before all the smacking. Alright. And clean up those sides a little bit. That way when the soap is cut, I want that top layer to be purple all the way through. I do not want it to have a bunch of green on the sides, which is what will happen if I don't clean this up. Alright, now I debate because I kind of do want that layer to set up a bit, but I don't know that I'm going to have that opportunity because this purple is getting real thick real fast. Decisions. It's not going to few air bubbles out that got into the purple. They're unavoidable, but I get as many out as I can. Yes, I think I'm just going to go for it. If there's just a little extra swirl on the bottom, so be it. And it'll just be a creamy purple on the top. Just like the original, which I would be holding up for you if it was not completely and totally gone. I'm just putting that in as gently as I can because I want it as much as possible to sit on top of the layer that I have in there rather than in it. Oh yeah, that's working. I love the creamy dollops of solid colored soap. They look like mousse. Looks like grape mousse. I don't even know if that's a thing. I think mousse is typically only vanilla, chocolate, pumpkin maybe. I've never seen grape, but that's what this looks like, grape mousse. I guess lavender mousse. Lavender ice cream can be a thing, lavender mousse can be a thing, right? I don't know. Both of those things sound interesting to me, but I don't know that I'm fancy enough to have ever gotten a hold of them. Alright. Tap that down a bit. Here's your warning. Alright. Oh, this is going to be so good for texturing the top. I was going to take a texture like nobody's business. It smells so good. Now this is going on the site. Technically speaking, it's already on the site because the first Goosfraba is up. It's just in a sold out status. That's going to change to I haven't decided, probably a back order status, maybe a pre-order technically, I don't know. Whatever it is, it will be available for sale within this next week. However, it will not ship for 4 to 6 weeks. I tried to change this recipe so that hopefully I can get a 4-week cure time out of it. But I want to make sure that before anything goes out, it is 100% fully cured. Technically speaking, I think I've said this in my last video, technically speaking, you can use the soap after 3 days. 3 days, roughly, is how long it takes for saponification. So that means that it's no longer oil and lye, it is soap. However, that soap is very soft, it has a very high water content, and it's not going to last very long in your shower. I want the soap to be fully cured in such a way that it's going to last a good time in your shower. It's going to feel real good on your skin. It's not going to turn to mush after your first use. I want you to get your money's worth out of it. The first time, actually the only time, I was gifted handmade soap. That's what happened to me. I was super impressed. I used it in the shower and I was just like, oh my gosh, this stuff makes my skin feel so good. But within hours after getting wet, it had just turned to a pile of mush. So I got one more shower out of it where I just kind of tried to salvage the pile of mush as best I could. And then it was gone. It was gone. And that was a $12 or $13 bar of soap that had, like I said, been gifted to me. But when I found the person's site, it was $12 or $13. Single color bar of soap, felt great, lasted 2 showers, and was done. So I want to make sure that when this goes to your home, that is not your experience. I want you to be able to enjoy this for a while, and the way to do that is to have patience in the curing process and not let you have it until I know it's going to hold up. Which is tough for me too, because obviously I want to start sending it out to people because I get really excited about my product. Alright, more tapping. Cover your ears or turn down your volume if you're not wanting to hear the banging around. Thankfully, I think my daughter's used to this by now and sleeps through it. Hopefully I don't wake her up too often. She is 11 years old. My daughter's name is Jennifer. She's 11 years old. She is super into the soap making and the business aspect of it, actually, which is pretty awesome. Some of you may have met her either because you know me or because she likes to come with me to craft fairs, and she will talk your ear off about soap and lotion if you give her the opportunity. She'll tell you especially about Perky Cocoa because she got to make the test batch with me. She's the one that actually wrote out the recipe. So I formulated, she wrote it out, we used what she wrote out. She took very good notes. I was very impressed. Yeah, she is learning all this so that eventually she'll take it over because she definitely has the mindset of somebody who will be doing, she'll be running her own business one way or another. Speaking of craft fairs, I have just updated my my calendar. So if you go to bubblyducky.com, there's a link in the menu that says, I think it says Find Us, something along those lines. I think it's Find Us. And there is a calendar of events. Currently, I'm only doing events in Missouri. That hopefully will change. It's mostly just because I'm registered for sales tax in Missouri, and going to another state and having to register there as well kind of makes me nervous. So I'm going to try to start spreading out a little bit next year. But for now, they're all in Missouri. But for those of you that aren't in Missouri, I still do ship all over. That is not an issue. So if you're not in Missouri, you can't get to a craft fair, I am still readily available online. I'm more than happy to work with you that way. So currently I know I have soap in California, in Massachusetts, in New Jersey, a decent amount in New Jersey because that is where I am from. Oh, sorry. Warning. Banging. Alright. Now I think I'm done with the banging and on to the smoothing. Uber messy spoon here. Just even that out a little bit. Let's see. First thing I'm going to do is just spread it out just to see that things are relatively even. It's not going to be perfect, but I want it to be close. I try, in most areas of life, to be someone who is just enough okay with imperfection to not drive myself crazy, but just enough needing of perfection to not be a lazy bum. So that is applied to my soap, that is applied to my parenting, that is applied to just about every aspect of my life as much as I can. It doesn't always work. Typically cleaning the house, I'm more of a bum and less of a perfectionist. Typically when doing something for another person, I'm more of a perfectionist and less of a bum. So I don't know if there's any way to achieve true balance there, but that's my goal, somewhere right in between. Let's see, put that over there. Alright, I think that's pretty even. Now I get to play with the texture. So I'm going to texture this just like I did the original Goosfraba, and that is with a spoon. Or, this is not a spoon, this is a fork. This is a dingle hopper. That is what I'm going to use, my handy dandy dingle hopper. So I'm starting out just cleaning up the edges because they're bothersome. I'm less worried about the ends because the ends will wind up being cut up anyway. If they are decent, they will go as samples. If they are less decent, I will use them, or my family will use them, because I test everything before I send it out anyway. Each batch gets tested on my skin before I go and sell it for use on your skin. Alright, start with this guy. So I'm trying to make it just a little pointed. But it takes some playing with to make that happen. Actually, just going to change up my strategy here. Come on. Okay. Dirty pile of stuff that needs to go in the dish, or not in the dishwasher, excuse me, in the sink. As soon as I'm done, I'm going to start by making it pointy-ish with a spoon. And once I got it to a decent amount of pointiness, I'll come in with my trusty dingle hopper and texture it up. Well, finish the texture. Fine tune the texture? I don't know. So at some point, I was the person that stayed up all night, every night. At some point in my youthfulness, I was the person who stayed up till 8:30 a.m., whether that's dancing with friends or reading a good book. Stayed up all hours of the night, got a 2-hour nap, went to work for 12 hours, did it again the next day. No problem. Now, at this point of my life, at 31 years old, as an old married mother, I can't do that anymore. And when it hits about this time of night, which is not late by any means, I stop being able to do things like use the English language. So excuse me as I sit here and search for words for really, really basic things. I'd like to say that happened when I turned 30. I'm pretty sure it happened when I got married. So husbands, if you're watching, yes, I am blaming you again for stealing my youth. But I love you anyway. He is currently in the basement. He is not watching this, but he might at a later point. So yeah, figure cover my bases. And for anybody just tuning in, this is me making soap live, specifically lavender and eucalyptus essential oil soap with silk in it. It also has olive oil, coconut oil, sustainably sourced palm oil, and castor oil for a little extra bubble. And this will be on bubblyducky.com. Not Bubbly Duck, not Bubble Ducky, but bubblyducky.com. Alright, it's starting to look good and pointy. Sides are still pretty messy, but there's going to be, these bars of soap are going to be big. I used quite a large recipe here. Oh, I don't even know if I want to come in with the fork. That looks really neat. Oh, I like that. No, I think I still will. Okay, let me just... I'm going to have some poppy seeds and some lavender buds on top. I just want a nice little spot to put them. And the poppy seeds and the lavender in this instance are purely cosmetic. They are not going to be scrubbing. They are not going to help with exfoliation. They are just to sit there and be pretty, and they'll fall off when you use it. But And if they don't fall off when you use it and you don't like them on there, you can just brush them off pretty easy. But they're pretty up until that point. That'll work. Alright, while I'm at it, do the same thing with this one before I come in with that fork. I'm just kind of jabbing down the side and then pulling towards the middle, and when I cut it, we'll see if that was successful. Like I said, great thing with soap, you never know if you were successful until several days later when there's not a darn thing you can do to fix anything. It's exciting. It's kind of like, to make a very, very overly dramatic example, overly dramatic simile maybe? My daughter's working on similes and idioms, and I'm trying to think, is that right? To make a very, very dramatic comparison, making soap is kind of like how couples do gender reveals now. It used to be, you go to the doctor, you find out together, boy or girl. Now, there's this whole thing where even though the doctor's already found out, you get an envelope and you give it to a friend, and you find out at the same time as your friends and family, and it's exciting and it's a big reveal. It's kind of like that with soap, because even though I'm sitting here making it, even if it wasn't live, we would both have roughly the same amount of information about what it's going to look like on the inside. So when I cut it, I get to find out. If I cut it live, we all get to find out together what it actually turns out as. My lovely daughter, she likes to design soaps, and man, her designs are intense. And some of them, maybe one of them I've attempted. I'm going to be attempting a few of them soon, and I hope they go well, because I want her to feel accomplished, because even though she's not the one making it, because I'm not going to let her do this just yet, even though she's not the one making it, she does get to see people say, oh my gosh, that design, oh, it's great, when she goes to craft shows with me. She gets to see people enjoy what she designed, even if she didn't technically create it. So I really want to attempt some of them soon, but man, they are detailed and exact. And when it comes to designing, I like to play with it. I'm not always exact. There's a few that are exact. Sunset on the Shore is pretty exact. I wanted it to look just like it looks. It took me just short of eternity to make that happen. So hopefully I'll be making one for her soon, based on the Greek fire song On Top of the World, which she really enjoys. And it's going to have a little earth on the bottom, about half of an earth, and a starry sky above it, possibly with a moon, which I think she said needed to be waning gibbous, because that's what she's learning about in school right now. Don't ask me what a waning gibbous is. I have no clue. I know it's bigger than a crescent, and light is coming from one side, but I don't know which one. I've heard a lot about the moon lately. And she wants me to make something like that, and hopefully I can get it right. If you have suggestions on what On Top of the World should smell like, please let me know, because space, I don't think, has a smell. There's no sound in space. I assume there's no smell in space. Maybe that's an incorrect assumption. Somebody get an astronaut on the phone. Is there a smell in space? Yes, Wikipedia would do just as well. Maybe something earthy. Maybe make that a patchouli sandalwood mix or something like that. A little earthy smell. Alright, that's looking pretty pointy. See if I can get some ridges in there. Gotta tell you, the worst part about this is the cleanup afterward. I will be up a while doing that. So part of the reason I'm texturing it is just to look pretty. Part of the reason I'm texturing it is because I'm going to be putting those botanicals on top, the poppy seed and the lavender buds, and a little texture helps them stay in place. That way, before they're being used and they're sitting out there, they look all nice and put together. There we go. Clean product, messy process. Alright. In case you're wondering what happens to all the scrap that goes into this little bucket over here, everything that's left, I get to scrape out into one big pile, and then I get my own little hand soap. Because there is no reason to waste it. So if you're somebody that knows me and you ever visit my house and say, why is the soap dish so colorful? It's because I have a ton of different little bits of scrap in there because they work just the same. I'm sorry, my shoulder and my arm are probably all in the camera. So when this goes on the website, right now Goosfraba is marked as not available for sale because I don't have any in stock. When it goes back to a either pre-order or a back order or whatever I decide to call it status, the imagery will change so that you will see what you're buying, which is this batch, not the original batch. Also, I don't necessarily remake everything that sells out. There are some that I really like and I'm going to make over and over again using generally similar designs. There's some that I really like but I want to get more creative with, or I have a different idea for, so I'm going to make them over and over, but I'm going to make different designs. So same smell, same general colors being used, but different swirls, different techniques when it comes to the design process. And then there are others that I'm just plain not going to remake because this is mostly business. Well, no, it is definitely half business, half fun. I want to say that I'm super disciplined and it's all business, but no, I definitely do this as a way to let out some creativity and get to be a bit artistic. So having to make the same thing over and over again doesn't exactly light my candle for that. So there's going to be some that once they sell out, they're just done. And that might be because I just have other ideas that I want to fill in the blanks with. It might be because I didn't really like making it all that much. It might be because I really liked it, but not that any other people did. So, yeah, which happens sometimes, personal opinion does not reign. Alright, so these are poppy seeds. I'm just kind of sprinkling them on the top a little bit. I'm going to say a little bit on it, a decent amount at the middle. I'm going to get a little tablespoon here, not because I'm actually measuring them, just because it makes it easier to sprinkle. Yeah, very different angle. There we go. Hopefully you guys can still see. These are the lavender buds. Itty bitty lavender flowers all curled up on themselves. Alright, that's about it. I'm going to spritz this with some rubbing alcohol. That will help it to set. It will help the lavender and the poppy seeds to stay in place. Gotta spritz it carefully though so I don't spray them out of place. It'll help the top to have a better color on it. And I don't even think I'm going to clean up the edges. I think I'll do that after it cures because I don't want to mess up the pattern on the top. So that was it. If you stuck all the way through, I really appreciate it. Again, this will be ready in 6 weeks on bubblyducky.com. Please forgive the messiness of making this cleaning product. Yeah, I'm going to go clean. Thanks for joining. You guys have a great night and get to bed. It's late.